How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm very happy. And how are you?
I'm good. I just got back from the gym, started the show,
It's
enjoying interesting videos the best I can. So, I don't even know where to start. She flat out called you a liar in the beginning. That it was all a lie, never happened. What do you take from all this? It just
well, the problem with accusing journalists who tend to take very exhaustive documentary reports of everything they do for precisely this sort of occasion is that you can very easily be proven wrong. You can very easily be proven to be a liar. And I think what we're starting to see, and I think this is one of the reasons why the other anti-Gamergate figureheads don't tend to identify very publicly with Brianna Wu. What we're starting to see is her unraveling narrative, and in fact, a large number of her claims are starting to unravel, and indeed questions are beginning to be asked about her own past. And the reason this is pertinent, the reason it's important, the reason that it's not simply bullying or unfair sort of examination of her personal life or whatever, is that when significant questions are asked about an individual's credibility, as they have been, and when it's drawn to a reporter's attention that somebody may not be someone who should simply be listened to and believed, we have a responsibility to look into those claims before uncritically repeating allegations that that person made. Now, Brianna Wu has admitted that she has no evidence whatsoever to suppose that the threats that were made against her, the specific threat that was made against her that she called the police over, was made by a Gamergate supporter. She's provided a sort of speculative timeline, but absolutely no evidence whatsoever that any Gamergate supporter was responsible. I look forward to the outcome of the police investigation there. Other claims of hers from the past have also begun to attract scrutiny, and so over the course of the next few days, I'll be looking into some of those. I'll be talking to people, and I will be examining who the woman is that the entire anti-Gamergate establishment rallied around when she made a claim about a threat, and who they listened to and believed, because it has now become an issue of reputation. Her reputation and her prior claims have become pertinent. I'll just finish briefly by saying something that I said on NPR last week, which is that particularly in the case of Brianna Wu, and this is especially the case in Brianna Wu, what we're witnessing is not the cruel targeting out of nowhere of innocent female victims. We are seeing a serial professional provocateur who has done, to my mind, she's given as good as she's got. Over the course of years, this woman has been a professional internet provocateur. She has provoked and manipulated and, as far as I can tell, deceived people online for years. And now she's sort of got a taste of her own medicine, hasn't liked it very much. That's not to say, by the way, that one should ever condone threats or rape threats or any of those awful things that she says she received. Not when they're given to anybody. They are things for which people should be caught, charged, and imprisoned. Whoever made those threats, whether she made them, whether somebody else made them, whether it was a Gamergate supporter or not, whoever's responsible for them should be in prison. But this is not the case that some innocent female developer dipped her toe into the waters of Gamergate and suddenly her family was abused. This is a serial provocateur getting a taste of her own medicine and not liking it very much.
right, and it's definitely true. I mean, she even stated that she was a real journalist, and followed up by saying she sent your questions to a journalist at the what is it, Glenn at the Economist, I think it was.
Well, Glenn Fleischman has written for The Economist. He's not an Economist journalist. Look, I've got no problem with her sending my questions to her friends. I published my questions for the internet to see the day after in fact, the day she failed to show up for my radio show. Her version of events does not bear scrutiny. It does not reflect the facts. The fact that she called me a liar really pushed, is what has motivated me to return to this subject, because frankly, I was happy to leave this obviously disturbed person to it. But if she's going to go around calling people who are reporting on what I consider to be a very serious issue liars, then each time she does that, the facts need to be very clearly laid out. And sooner or later, this is not a personal thing, but if she is going to make untrue claims, untrue factual claims, then each of those claims that she makes need to be completely and firmly rebutted each time until eventually a picture emerges that she cannot be trusted.
Right, and as I saw from David, as he had to explain himself, as a journalist, I can understand, in your perspective, that when another supposed, I'm going to put air quotes on this, journalist claims that another journalist is lying in any certain way, that usually fact-checking is usually taken into account and followed up from behind.
I would imagine Brianna Wu, being a former journalist, she will be delighted to enjoy the cleansing power of sunlight. She will be a crusader for truth and transparency. She will be very happy for the truth to be revealed. She'll be very happy for the facts to come out. In this case, unfortunately, I think we know that she won't be, because they will not support her claims.
Right. She won't fit into her narrative, which is also why I won't bring her on my show. There's one thing I've noticed about her in particular, that she has been on about, 20 shows? I want to say about 12 to 20, easily, since this has begun, or her incident started. And it has mostly been a hug box, nothing serious, but it just seems more that she'd rather get her limelight out there. And she kind of put it into perspective in this interview. She said she forced the hands of IGN and GameSpot.
Wasn't it interesting when she objected to that word publicized?
Oh, yeah.
Well, of course she did. But that's exactly what's been happening. And just 2 points on that from my point of view. One, people who are genuinely in fear of their life do not go on press tours. It's just a fact.
Right.
Irrespective of whether she was on some greater, higher mission to bring, truth and justice to the video games industry, a games industry that's neglected women and allowed misogyny to propagate. All of that aside, if you're genuinely in fear of your life and in fear of your family's life, you don't go on press tours, nor do you advertise your location to the nearest 5 meters, as she did less than 48 hours after she claims to have received these threats. Nor do you, well, anyway, I think most listeners will know a lot of this stuff already, but I'll save some of the good things for later in the week when I write my report. But, the behavior that has been exhibited by this, obviously troubled individual has borne no relation whatsoever to any of the behavior we see for people in genuine fear of their lives.
Right.
And of course, David Packman was entirely right. When you do contact the authorities about these things, the one thing they tell you is do not take to social media, do not take to Twitter. It will further endanger your safety and security. If she had any genuine worry whatsoever for her personal safety, she would not have acted in the way that she has.
Exactly. I 100% agree. It's very odd that she did the complete opposite of what most normal people, in my opinion, would do. It's interesting that it was. It was even more interesting that when he brought up the question of whether or not she made a fake Twitter account to basically do these things to herself, that she said, oh, it exists. It's not a sock puppet, but it's all satire. It's a joke. It wasn't taken seriously, and people took it seriously.
Look, I make jokes all the time. I'm perfectly happy to make jokes. I mean, I sometimes use salty language on Twitter. What I don't do is turn around and claim harassment and all the rest of it afterwards. I accept the consequences of being a provocateur, which is what I am and what she is too. And, I guess poachers make the best gamekeepers. But, I sort of see a fellow provocateur in her, although I would like to think that I don't exhibit some of her more unpleasant characteristics, particularly her relationship with the truth, which seems sketchy at best. But let's just be clear about this Bro Lols account. This isn't just a sort of light-hearted satire. It's not the sort of thing that you'd see on a chat show or whatever. I mean, one tweet that she published in this account on September 20th said, the death scenes in Tomb Raider give me an erection, but that doesn't make me a misogynist. #Gamergate. I mean, these tweets exhibit something about the psychology of this person that I think it would take a therapist to work out. It's beyond my professional expertise what is going on in the head of somebody who comes up with something like that. But let's be clear. This isn't just some sort of light-hearted satire. This is nasty, twisted, poisonous, weird stuff that is designed to make people angry. It did make people angry, and then she cried foul. Well, I'm sorry, but that is a set of actions that most people would find deeply unreasonable.
I agree. You know, you mentioned psychology. I would honestly, I'd say she's most likely a narcissist in anything. She shows the exhibits of it. Everything's got to revolve around her, whether she's a victim or not. It's got to encompass what's going on with her. I mean, look at the questions that he asked. It had to always go back to, well, me and I'm a victim and this and that. And if he would ask anything that was outside of her bubble, it would be insulting. It would be a hit piece, as she put it. And I found that to be hilarious, and it made more sense as to why it's been such a hug box with her media parade, if you will. And I find it to be one big joke, and which is why
Did you notice how she felt obliged to drop into the interview that she was the #1 most harassed person in Gamergate? I mean, give me a break, love.
Oh, of course. It just adds fuel to the fire for me. She's a narcissist. It's why I won't give her the time of day on my show, at least, when she asks to come on.
I'm not a psychology professional, so I'm not in a position to diagnose her with anything. But in the common parlance, in the sort of everyday meaning of the word narcissism, I don't think anybody could seriously disagree with you.
No, it's not hard. It's just there's different types of ones. Hers is more of a subtle kind, where it has to be more encompassing on professional victim. Thank you, chap. But in most cases, it can be different types. But her, it's all about her. She's got the limelight, and it makes sense. And the beauty of everything else is she subtly drops things in there, like you said, the #1 harassment, or she'll plug in her show, her radio show that she does, or it's different things. I'm not denying the fact that she might have been harassed. I've been harassed. You have been harassed. We've seen it. It's out there. But I'm not putting it to the extent that she would. If it was credible, I understand that you go to the police, but you don't go parade it and go on media about it and start running pitchforks and trying to start an uprising.
No, I mean, can you imagine what would have happened if any of these women had got through the mail some of the things that we have? I mean, you know, I try not to make it all about me, but my God, can you imagine? So there would be an international media meltdown if Anita Sarkeesian got a syringe in the mail. Can you even imagine it?
Oh, yeah, of course I could. I'm imagining right now. Look what happened with Utah with the fake massacre that the police proved that it didn't exist. The first thing the Young Turks dropped was gun grabbing. Then she went straight to gun grabbing. It went from that to gun control. It had nothing to do with that. But they used Gamergate as a catalyst to bring up other issues that had nothing to do with it. It's what they do. It's a beautiful thing. The professional victim is something very entertaining I like to watch. The insanity, at least in America, is out there. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's certainly true. I'm having a couple of people ask me about this journalist friend of hers, Glenn Fleischner, and all I'll say on this subject is I mean, it's fairly straightforward. I've got no problem with people being interviewed by their friends. He's not just a friend, but somebody who financially donated to her. So he's not just a friend, but an investor in her company, if you like, or at least a financial supporter. He's somebody who's paid her to, I think he contributed to a Kickstarter, if the screenshots I have in front of me are right. Now look, I don't have a problem with that. She's free to take whatever questions she wants from wherever she wants and have them asked to her by whomever she likes in whatever format she chooses. All of that is fine. But let's just be sure that what we don't call it is journalism, and what we do call it is a chat between friends, because that's what it is. And whatever she broadcasts and whatever she advertises, it's a friendly chat between ideological allies very much on safe territory. Unlike the interview that she did today with David Pakman, and he asked very reasonable and, to my mind, very softball questions. It was a perfectly fair-minded, reasonable interview, given some of the things that she has been accused of. He really gave her quite an easy ride on some of it. And her response, rather than to answer the questions directly and honestly, was to turn around and accuse him of a hit piece, which is just the most sort of tried and tested, slime balls response to questions you don't like. That it's possible to imagine. I mean, this is, for those of us who've been in the journalism game for a while, we know these tactics. We've seen them before, and it's a very, very old, very boring strategy.
Right, and it was kind of just a major deflection into an insult. It's distasteful.